Hey there, island dreamers, locals, and anyone craving a slice of paradise. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time, to the Fun and Key West podcast, where the vibe is always laid back, the stories are salty, and the drinks, well, they're definitely frozen. I'm your host, Michelle O'Connor, your unofficial tour guide to the Conquered Public. Whether you're planning your first trip, your fifth trip, or you're just daydreaming about trading the cubicle for the ocean breeze, you are in the right place. Here's the deal. This podcast is your insider's guide to all things Key West. We're talking where to eat, hello, conch fritters and key lime pie, where to drink, spoiler alert, there will be rum, where to stay, and all the quirky, wonderful things that make Key West the one-of-a-kind paradise we all love. Plus, we'll keep you up to date on the latest happenings, festivals, events, maybe even the occasional Hemingway lookalike sighting. And just to keep things spicy, we'll be bringing on some amazing guests now and then, locals, business owners, and people who know the island like the back of their sandy hand. So grab your flip-flops, pour yourself a cold one, and let's escape to the island state of mind together, whether you're tuning in from your hammock or your commute, while wishing it was a hammock. We've got all the Key West goodness coming your way. Thanks for being here. It's going to be a lot of fun in Key West. Let's dive in. Welcome to Historic Marker Monday. Today, we are going to uncover the fascinating stories behind those little plaques you pass by and wonder about. And today, we're diving into the rich and stormy history of the Marine Hospital in Key West, from its beginnings as a life-saving hospital in the 1840s to its current life as condos and Truman Annex. This building has seen it all: wars, hurricanes, yellow fever outbreaks, and even a rumored Hemingway connection. So grab your coffee, put on your walking shoes, or just get comfy, and let's explore the incredible journey of this historic gem. Trust me, you'll never look at those markers the same way again. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Historic Marker Monday. It is another episode, and I am so glad that you are here. We spend Mondays exploring those little historic markers that you see when you wander around Key West. And today we are exploring the Marine Hospital. It's no longer a hospital. As a matter of fact, if you wander through Truman Annex today, you will find that it is now being used as condos. Like a lot of the buildings over in Truman Annex, they've been repurposed whenever the military and the Navy sold off, and Truman Annex in its current iteration was created. But let's go back and talk about the Marine Hospital before it became condos. And this is a building that's seen it all: war, hurricanes, a rumor of Hemingway. We're going to get to that. It's a rumor of a Hemingway, and now condo life. So in this whole history of this building, it's seen Civil War medicine, yellow fever outbreaks, Havana hurricanes, and all the drama that comes with hurricanes, and everything else that we can think of, including island rumors of Ernest Hemingway. So grab your coffee. Let's get into this. So if you remember Commodore David Porter, he came into Key West and was in charge of eradicating piracy and did that with his Mosquito fleet. But he requested a hospital be built in 1844 because he said, if you're stationed in Key West and it's the 1840s and you're surrounded by sailors and there's nothing else nearby, and we're doing all of this eradicating of piracy and protecting the waters, we need a hospital. And so he commissioned a hospital to be built. And what was interesting is this hospital was built in less than a year. So it was started in late 1844, and by August of 1845, the building opened as a hospital. Here's an interesting thing, though. There's an architect named Robert Mills, and he, at that point in time, had designed, I think, 7 or 8 other military hospitals. But he's famous for designing the Washington Monument. So, and not just a regular architect was used to design the Marine Hospital. There was actually Robert Mills, and then this will come back again, and I'll tell you why the connection's so interesting. This building served as a hospital for 90 years. From 1845 to 1943, it served as the military hospital. In the Civil War, it helped the Key West with the Union troops and everything that was happening in Key West and the waters around Key West during the Civil War. And then you had the yellow fever and the dengue epidemics, and it treated the people of Key West as well as the military people. And then you had, of course, the Spanish-American War, with Key West only being 90 miles from Cuba. It was the recovery spot for a lot of these wounded soldiers. And in World War I, you had the influenza pandemic, and the Key West Hospital was used also to treat that, and it helped to battle that pandemic. Now, less than a year-ish after the hospital opened, you had the Great Havana Hurricane of 1846. And this just about did the hospital in. Remember, that great hurricane hit Key West at a Cat 5 strength. And when it hit the island, it picked up a lot of the debris in the docks and everything, because the hospital is built facing the harbor and it's by the water. And a lot of that debris from the harbor and all of that came and hit the building. It took out a wall, the building lost a section or parts of its roof. And so it had to go through a lot of rebuilding and repairs throughout the years. There are reports that right after the hurricane, doctors came in, said it was a beautiful view, but the hospital was in a lot of disrepair, and there was a lot of things that needed to be fixed. A lot of that was because of the hurricane and trying to keep up with it being a working hospital, as well as all the repairs that needed to be done. Here's what's interesting. In the 1930s, we know that Ernest Hemingway lived in Key West. There's a story that goes around, and honestly, I spent quite a bit of time going through the interwebs trying to find if this was true or not. But there's a story that Ernest Hemingway shot himself accidentally in the foot and went to the Marine Hospital to be treated. And so he used that experience in his book, To Have Nots. I can't find that. There are reports that he was on a fishing trip and gaffed himself, but there's nothing that says that he was actually shot in the foot or went to the Marine Hospital. If you guys can find anything about that, let me know. Again, I spent a lot of time searching for information about it. Couldn't find it. My best guess is either he knew somebody who was at the military hospital, or because he was writing To Have and Have Not while he was in Key West, he went over to the Marine Hospital for some sort of literary inspiration or to be able to document something about that in the book. That would be my best guess. The Navy then takes over the building during World War II. They close the hospital, and it becomes home to the Waves, which is the women of the Navy. And this became their housing. And so it was housing for the Waves. And then after that, it became home for troubled teens. And then we know that in the 1980s, there was a private redevelopment of the area, which is now known as Truman Annex. And today, as you walk through Truman Annex, you're going to see a sign in front of the Mills Place condos. And that is the old Marine Hospital that has now been converted into condos. I think there's about 20 of them in there. Keep in mind, when this was a fully functioning hospital, there was about 60 beds. And so it served its purpose. It was in use for 90 years. And there was life-saving measures that were done there through pandemics and the Spanish flu and the Spanish-American War and everything from the Civil War all the way through World War II. Have you ever wandered through Truman Annex and stopped and saw it and thought, the Marine Hospital and Mills Place condos? Now you know the connection. The architect Mills, who designed the Washington Monument, that's the nod back to him. It's interesting as you wander through Truman Annex, you're going to find so many historical buildings there that have been repurposed. You have the weather station, which is now a bread and breakfast. You have, again, the Mills condos. You have the other condo section there that are the big white concrete buildings. Those used to be officer quarters, and those are now condos as well. And so there's a lot of repurposing that occurs with these buildings in Key West. And so the next time you're wandering through Key West and you take a look at these markers, figure out, what was the original purpose of this building? What is it today? Is it still in use today as what it was originally built for? Some are, some aren't. But it's interesting. And the other thing that I always find interesting is it in its original location? As we know, a lot of these buildings have been moved for various reasons. And so it's always interesting. Is this in its original location? The other thing to be keeping in mind as you wander Key West is, did Key West look like this when this building was built? There were salt ponds that have now been filled in. There have been man-made additions to the island. So maybe when that building was built or that home was built, it's not exactly the way Key West looked. But still, it's a lot of fun to wander through Key West and stop and look at these historic markers and figure out all of the history that is connected to that spot, to that building, to the island, to the area, and the impact it has. There is so much more information on these self-guided walking tours over at, you guessed it, FunInKeyWest.com. I will link down in the show notes a post about the Marine Hospital. But I would love to know, have you been there in terms of walking around, seeing it? Have you been able to stay in one of those condos? Because I would love to know what it looks like inside. I am Michelle with Fun in Key West, and I am so glad that you joined us again for another episode of Historic Marker Monday. I want you to head over, like I said, to FunInKeyWest.com, check out our self-guided walking tour, but also sign up for our happy hour list. That gets you on our newsletter, and that gets you an opportunity to answer a trivia question every week and put your name into a drawing for a Fun in Key West swag box and other Key West goodies, as well as sign up for our book club. We're having a blast over there. You guys have a great Monday. Thank you for stopping in. Talk to you later.
Thanks for joining me on this journey through the history of the Marine Hospital. Isn't it amazing how much life a single building can hold? From Civil War medicine to condo living, it's a testament to Key West's ability to adapt and preserve its past. Don't forget to check out the blog post linked in the show notes for even more details and photos. And while you're at it, head over to FunInKeyWest.com to explore more of our self-guided historical walking tour. Plus, you can sign up for our happy hour list and join our book club for even more Key West fun. And don't miss out on your chance to win some of that awesome Key West swag. Until next time, keep wandering, and have a fantastic day. See you soon.